Hey everybody, hope you had a great trading day. There is a lot to go over, so let's just jump right into it. August 24th at the close, we're supposed to see Tesla split 341. Now, how is this going to work tomorrow? We're going to have to see. In the past, you've seen mixed results with these kinds of splits. You're trying to hold this level and flip it, and if we really zoom in here, you're having a very hard time getting up there. Matter of fact, you formed what we refer to as a gravestone doji right here. So that's not really ideal. If you break below that tomorrow and you're long this and you're just looking for the trade, you're probably going to want to watch that area extremely closely. 889.50 is what I would watch, because that's a pretty easy setup to coming down here and completing what I would refer to as a evening star pattern. I'll link that candlestick video at the end so you can go through those patterns if you haven't already, but I'd be really careful right there. The fact that you got to the top of this and were unable to flip it. Now, if you break tomorrow, you're breaking right on those levels. So you can see that pretty clearly. Stay to the end because we're going to go through the indexes, and we have about 3 earnings plays tonight that we need to go over for tomorrow. One is just up 21% after hours. Another one's flat. I'm actually surprised it's doing that well. But considering what they said, but see where you're at, you're kind of wedged in here. If you break that low, you're just going to probably want to step out of the way and see how it goes. These kinds of bars, the fact that you worked down that whole bar is somewhat concerning to me, right? Wicks are price rejection. That's not really what you want to see beforehand. So just watch that level tomorrow. Be very careful with it, and let's see how it trades. Before we get into the earnings plays, I just want to focus on this. Energy is continuing to rally. We saw this article the other day. We're going to get rid of these indicators. This is per the newsletter. If you don't get the newsletter, there is a free version in the link below. You can follow along with us. It actually comes up with an update this evening. And then Monday and Friday as well. But now you see this right here. See how you just popped up and over? This is when the Wall Street Journal ran an article that Buffett really didn't want control of the company, which was kind of laughable when you're buying 50%. You flip up, and now you're closing again here. And I think it's important to understand where you are on the weekly. So on the weekly chart, this was your breakout bar, right? So then that would be where you would call this your pivot, and then you flip that level right there. That would be your stop. Look how you responded to this level over and over again, right? And what happens to support? Support will flip to what? Resistance, right? That's what happened right there. Come across, look where you're at. If you flip this level and you get above this on the weekly, which is very possible, you're heading back to this level, this 87 level, fairly quickly. So I would not sleep on this because you missed the easy money. Look for pullbacks. You're getting pullbacks in the right names. This is definitely one that should still be on your radar. Now, this is how Nvidia closed, 172.22. After hours, you're at 167.56. And quite frankly, I'm surprised it's acting that well. This was not a great quarter, and I think the reality of that is really settling in as they start to pour through this. Now, caveat, this was filmed before the conference call this evening, but I'm surprised you're actually even holding in here this well. This was pretty abysmal as far as a quarter goes. Let's drill down into that on the 1 minute. You can see this range right here. The undercut tried to rally. And this tends to happen, right? You tend to rally back, even on bad news, back to flat. We saw this with other names this week. Zoom sold all the way down, right? Broke, sold all the way down on the news, came all the way back and looked like it was going to go positive and then just trickled down. Barring something great with this conference call with Nvidia tonight, I just don't see it. And let's get into the numbers a little bit. So right in here, you can see very clearly, I'm just going to go right off of Bazinga so you can just see this, right? But here you are on your third quarter sales numbers, margin 62.4 and 65 respectively, plus or minus 50 basis points. You kind of wanted to see that number a little bit higher, right? That's because of the gaming revenue is hurting your gross margins. Now, 51 cents versus $1.25 is abysmal. 6.7 billion versus 8 billion. That's not what you want to see here at all. So this was a really bad miss. Now, again, you have to go into the conference call and see how you're going to act. But basically what you've done is gap down, tried to rally back to the close, and then gone flat. So I don't really see a whole heck of a reason to be chasing this. There's only really one name that I see They came out and had an excellent quarter, and we're going to get to that in a moment. But what you do now is you need to see how this plays out. I mean, if you were to look at this, this is pretty clear, right? Here's your level, and here's where you're at. So, the sector that's working is software. If you look at these earnings that are coming out, it's software left and right. It's not semis. So, maybe they're going to be the driving force. We did see a ton of inflows today into other sectors. We'll cover that at the end as well. But see that level, you just want to watch that tomorrow. I mean, that's not ideal. You broke your upper channel. You really didn't want to break that, right? And you did. And now you have this. Now you're dealing with this little nightmare. So I would watch this really closely. Now, CRM, let's just cover this so we're all on the same page. $1.19 beat by $1.02. So you had a nice beat. Sales beat. Here's where the issue comes in. Now you have $1.20 versus $1.29 estimate for next quarter. You're coming in at 7.82 versus 8.07. So we're selling down a little bit, but I want to just point something out that's a little suspect. Into this, there's a $10 billion buyback program that has been announced. So if you're a company and you want to buy your stock back, do you want to pay $200 or do you want to pay $170? And I hate to be that big of a cynic, but if you were going to come out and institute a huge buyback program like that, and you wanted to kind of lean a little bit on the stock, you might throw a kitchen sink quarter in there and be ultra conservative just so you can start getting the stock a little bit cheaper. It's going to be the cynic in me that's going to talk that way. But I've seen this before. I've seen it, several times, and it happens. But what do you do with the stock? I would just stay out of the way until this settles down. If you look at this after hours, so far you're just seeing straight selling. I don't see any reason for this to change. It might exacerbate if you get through that 168 level. I certainly wouldn't chase it. And, there's probably obviously validity to what they're saying, that things are a little bit weak, but you just came out and you beat by, you beat this quarter, but next quarter is going to be weak. Maybe you could have held back some of that for next quarter. We all know the games that these companies play with their earnings. So, just the cynic in me feels that way when I look at it. Also, if you just take a look at this stock when it comes out with earnings, this is kind of what it does. When you have earnings, right? It kind of sells back down and then it starts to rally again. So it might be one of those stocks you want to look at in a day or two. Most impressive quarter of the night goes to Snow. It's not even close. So they really crushed earnings and revenues and guidance. And you can see that you're acting very nicely, up 21% after hours. Huge inflows are coming into this name. If you look at after hours, the first 15 minutes, you've already traded about 700% of your normal average volume. That's huge that you're trading at a level that big. So you're going to want to watch this, and you seem to just be hanging right in there and holding. Now, if you just look at what's going on, you have sales, right? 497, which was a huge beat, in my opinion. You're almost 10%, right? To 467 estimate. I mean, this is the kind of thing that you want to see, okay? When you're beating by that kind of revenue in this kind of environment, that's going to drive your stock price up. And that's exactly what we want to see from our companies. Between that, this DTL, which is a downward trend line that you're actually flipping here, the amount of volume that you're probably going to see come into this name is probably going to be significant. It could be dampened a little bit by some of the other companies that came out this evening, like CRM and Nvidia. But overall, unless they just have an awful conference call, and this was recorded before that, I don't see anything wrong with this at all. So XBI, I just want to talk about this sector for a moment and give you my understanding of where we are in the pecking order. So I don't believe at all we're heading back to these lows. And I know a lot of people are saying that. And if you kind of look at what was factored in here, it was almost a Lehman Brothers kind of event. And I don't think we're going to see something like that. If we do, of course, this could happen. I'm not saying things are rosy. Inflation's out of hand. We all know it. But what happens when you start to form a base is you have pullbacks. They're natural. And I think if you look at this, you can see that we've been doing this and stair-stepping up. A lot of people are expecting this V kind of recovery. And I think what you're going to see is exactly what you're seeing, which is a U. You rally up, you backfill. You rally up, you backfill over and over again, and you form these U's. And before you know it, you're slowly grinding higher and you're not really aware of it, almost like a frog in boiling water. So just keep an eye on XBI. We saw tons of inflows in there today. XLE is on fire. We've been talking about this for some time. A lot of names like Oxy that we've been talking about are in there. The super majors just keep moving. Exxon, Chevron. You want to focus on these. Now, Friday is going to be your big day, obviously, with the Fed talk, but just watch this level, this 415.38 level. See how you act in there, and look at the battleground that's going on here today, just so you understand where all the players are. So this, 41.25 level, you just look at it. I mean, you can almost set your watch to it. So when you start having breaks below that and then follow through breaks below that, become concerned. Until then, for the past 3 days, you've been in a trading range. One of the important things about this trading range is just your RSI. So last time that the RSI was this low was back here in June. This just happened to mark the bottom of the move. You can see the undercut and how it took between the 13th, roughly, let me get to that, the 13th to the roughly the 16th, I believe, before we finally found our bottom here on the 16th. You're starting to see something very similar here where the 22nd and tomorrow will be the 25th. So last time we were this oversold, it took 3 days on the hourly for us to finally turn and come back. Look, nothing's alike. Obviously, this is different than here. These gaps to me, the way that we're shaping up, I would not roll this out, and I'd be watching that 415.38 level very closely. Now, in regards to some of the other issues that are going on out there that I think are pertinent, I think it's very interesting that we got through 308 today on the 10-year and nothing happened. Right? By nothing happened, the IWM, which is the most affected by the 10-year, actually went up. Well, that's very interesting to me. If you look at tech across the board, we're undercutting and then we're going higher. Now, if you want to get super technical about today, and we can drill in this on a 15-minute, and I can show you this very clearly, this has been your range for those 3 days. Okay, this is where you're at. Now, if you take a look at that range and you look at this close, and you can see right there that 315 level, go and take a look at this on the 3-day now and look at that close. Okay, so this is the highest close you've had on the NASDAQ in 3 days, and your RSI sitting on 50. I'm going to link that RSI video at the end that you might want to watch as well. So that's really what I have to go over. I tried to pack as much in as possible. Please comment on the video. That's why you're seeing me talk about the earnings, because I was asked to do that. As always, trade to win tomorrow. And if you're interested in the trading community, there will be a link up here in the top right corner. You can click and preview it. Have a great night, everybody.